Welcome to
Core Memory Unlocked.
Hello?
Hello!
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 Well, that's a great way to start it. That's a fucking great way to start it. God damn it.
Welcome to
God
Core
damn it.
Memory Unlocked. I am Zach, that is Justin, and we are here on our second Mike Myers Film Fest, So I Married an Axe Murderer, his second film, first of the two to release in 1993. Wowie wow. So you said this pre-show that you only watched this like once before.
Yeah, so back when I was, preteen, I don't know, in 10, 11, 12 or whatever, and loving Wayne's World, loving Austin Powers, and it was like, oh, he's got this other movie that's kind of gone overlooked, but it's like, oh, that's cool. So I remember watching it then, but then not watching it since then. So that was a long freaking time ago. So I barely remember this movie, and I definitely didn't remember a lot of the bits and all that stuff. And so this was a fresh rewatch for me.
For me, and it's the continued story of my life. I am a creature of habit. I do enjoy, for at least films, I enjoy thoroughly rewatching a film, picking up things I missed, doing all. So this movie was one of those, like, it came on HBO. I watched it when I was younger. Okay. When I was middle schoolish era, it would come on Comedy Central. I would watch it. This movie, weirdly, I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I have a lot of core memory with this. This movie, I would actually personally have more attachment to than Wayne's World.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, not saying Austin Powers, like Austin Powers, that's probably a little higher. But if I was to sit here and you were like, you have to watch 3 movies of his, it would be Austin,
this would be one of them.
So I Married, and then Wayne's World.
Right. I mean, the fact that it's even in your top 3 is a big statement.
Yeah. Well,
this is not a movie.
Whoa. Not top 3 ever, just of Mike Myers.
Well, that's what I mean. Of his movies.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. For
Studio 54 when I'm feeling naughty.
Especially considering that, as spoke about, like, I saw this when I was, a child. I don't know if I've really even heard anyone talk or mention this movie, maybe other than you, since then. I mean, this is not a movie that, especially next to everything else that Mike Myers has done, Shrek, Austin Powers, and Wayne's World, to name a few. So wow, that's a big thing.
It's a thing for me. I think there was elements which we will get into, or I'll even begin after the trailer. But the first one that it doesn't take place in New York, or it doesn't take place
San Francisco.
It takes place in a place that I don't think I knew outside of, like, it's the opening to fucking Full House. You know what I mean? Like, those are one of the few things.
Which is one of the locations they went to. It was a very recognizable Full House park.
Yep.
The houses that are on the slant.
So,
I'm sure it's got a name. I don't know it.
San Francisco, I guess. But it gave off a different feel than I was used to. And it was kind of cool seeing a humanized, and I felt very akin to how Mike Myers was, where it was like, he's goofy, he's going to be kind of, doing those kind of bits, but then he is very grounde, more so than any other character that he does.
Well, because he's not being a character. It's because he's not being Austin Powers, Wayne, or Shrek. He's not being a character. He's kind of more or less being himself.
Yeah, until he does play a character in the movie, which we'll get into. But in case if you are one of the many that have not seen So I Married an Axe Murderer, the cult classic in my eyes, let us watch this trailer.
My name is Mike Myers. Perhaps you recognize me from my recent motion picture, Wayne's World.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
As you can see, I'm on the set of my new film in which I play a young fellow named Charlie, who gets a little more than he bargained for. For example, there's suspense.
What the fuck is this trailer?
I don't know.
She murders her husband on her honeymoon, then she changes her identity and marries again.
I never heard of it, so what?
I think I'm dating Mrs. X.
The Justice Department reports an alarming rise in the number of poisoning murders across the United States.
It's a smart drink to improve your brain power. You like it, Charlie?
Thank you, no. There's action.
What the fuck is this trailer?
There's something
Wow.
I need to tell you.
Wow.
She's a killer.
Charlie, she is not a killer.
And of course, there's plenty of romance.
There's Austin Powers before Austin
I know
Powers.
everyone always says sense of humor, but I'd really have to go with breast size.
When you're so totally asleep, you could just stick a needle.
So, as you can see, it has all the elements of a truly great motion picture. Oh, did I mention the axe murder?
Hello, sweetheart.
Missed me, darling?
Dr. Evil right there.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So did he base an entire other franchise on a trailer?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Yeah,
the
wow,
fuck?
that's
What?
I've never seen a trailer
Never.
like that before. And I know
Never.
that like they were banking on his success from Wayne's World, but they were
That's
just
100%.
flat out telling you, "Hey, please don't overlook this movie because I'm in it and I'm famous and I just had a good I just had a really popular movie."
It really, it makes me wonder if this is one of those movies like, you know, where someone blows up from a picture, but then like a studio's held on to a movie because they
Yes.
don't know how to put it out yet. And then when,
Right.
oh, they're big, put it out and say
Easy.
it stars this person.
Yes. Or what they've done is they don't star, the person that gets big doesn't star in it, but it's like one of like the side characters that doesn't get a lot of screen time, but then they put them on the poster as if they're one of the main
They're the
characters
big people.
to loop you in, and then you realize, oh, you were barely in the movie, but they used that to kind of
Yep.
sell the movie after they had gotten big.
Like, that trailer was just too much. Like, if I would have saw that in theater, I would have booed the fucking screen. Because it's
Right.
just, it's too much. It's like, that's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what the movie is not. Like I said earlier, the movie's more grounded. It does have this,
Yeah.
like, thrill. Everything he was saying while trying to be funny, because he was
Yeah.
100% not being funny, was the
Right.
reason, like, the movie would work if you didn't do that. If you did a basic
Right.
trailer, which I'm sure they did. I'm sure they released whatever.
yeah, I'm
that
sure
was,
there's-
that was
that
the first one
exists
that I pulled
somewhere.
up. But
Right.
that was bonkers. I am offended
Yeah.
I watched it.
Offended. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I didn't. It just seems
I
weird.
love
It
it.
did seem really, really weird. And it's okay. So that was one of the things. Like, so this is a movie. So as far as like my experience with it, I mean, I'm borderline watching it for the first time.
Right.
I did remember like the ending of the movie, so I knew like what was going to happen. But like scene to scene and line to line, I'm not really remembering these things.
Right.
So I watched it with kind of fresh eyes, which it's like one of those things that's like it's one of those things that when you've seen like a joke or a stick that's been played out in a movie 100 times, it's kind of like old. But the first time it's done, it wasn't old. And
Right.
so like I'm watching this movie having seen Austin Powers and all of
All the
Mike
tropes.
Myers's shticks and
Yes.
characters, and I've
Right.
seen all of that already. So I can't help but be like, oh, this is like either A, characters that I've already seen too much of, and he's not doing anything original. It feels like he's not being original. He's just repeating his own old bits, but he hasn't made those bits yet. This is just like the early adaptation of it. So it's really hard to watch this unbiased from having already seen all of those movies. And yet it's also kind of interesting to see where it's like some of those things were like born,
like
and
Fat
the voices that he
Bastard's
does.
voice.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Dad's, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can kind of see in the hello,
hello,
Wayne's World at some point.
Yeah.
And so like, oh, okay, he's kind of like recycling some of these bits, and he's creating kind of like his own.
You think I'm a
persona.
gullible? A gullah calf?
Sorry. Yeah.
That's a reference to the last one.
To the last of Wayne's World 2. Yeah, I know it. But anyway, so it was really trippy watching this movie, having already seen all of those.
I get that. I really, I don't know. I just find a charm in it. Maybe it's not even Mike Myers that's my favorite part of the movie. I do like the poem shtick. Woman, whoa, man, whoa.
All of the poetry he did was, I enjoyed it. I have two things on this. One, I thought it was really good, and I loved watching it. I thought it was written well.
I wanted to go to that coffee house.
It was clearly rehearsed, like it was solid. The thing that bothers me, the only thing about, I was like, what is his job? What is he doing for a living?
Slam poetry.
But we don't see him ever like rehearsing. Like, does he work for anybody? Like, where's his income coming from? But he just seems like, I go do this poetry stuff down at the lounge, and I'm like, I guess he makes a living that way. I don't know who's paying him. They don't ever talk about it, but I couldn't help but think that over the whole course of the movie, I'm like, what is your job, man? Her job, and he's working by herself, acting as the cashier and the butcher, which is very unsanitary. And he's just kind of like, hey, I have some experience in this. You want me to help out? Because I don't have a job, I guess. And so then I'm gonna say this. I have a lot of complaints about this movie, similar to what we talked about in Wayne's World 2. I have a lot. I recognize that a lot of people find this movie very charming and sweet, and they love it. I was somebody who did not. I have a lot of complaints about the logic in this movie. It's bonkers. It's almost as bonkers as Wayne's World 2.
I think it's on par with not being cohesive in the same sense, because like, why would you stay with this person? Why would you go on dates if you automatically you would never contact them again? It would be done deal earlier in the movie than you end up getting, especially once you get to the finale with how bonkers everything's going around, like him going on the roof and shit. But I love every other character in this movie. The small bit of the dad that we get, just because it's fun, it's Mike Myers being Mike Myers as a character. Because you could tell that this was supposed to be, whoever was making this movie for Sony, TriStar, whatever. They were like, remember Eddie Murphy? Remember Eddie Murphy playing characters, and he can do so many more? This guy, this Mike Myers guy, I mean, he has an average look that most people would like to see. He's not too ugly like some of the SNL cast members of that era. I think we can make him like an Eddie Murphy type, like, because, you know, he did Coming to America, and he played 40 characters. Mike Myers can play this one character. But the other side characters, I love the mom, but most of all, absolutely love Anthony LaPaglia, his best friend, the cop, because at that time he also had another movie, Empire Records, that I would watch back to back with it. I don't know why, but I loved him so much in both of those movies that he's just a fun guy. I love fucking the police chief who's like, hey, you get back into the office. And you don't, did I do it too hard? Am I
that was a funny bit. That was a good, like, that was something that I didn't remember happening. And I thought it was really, really funny that he's like, and then he starts doing it again. He's like, now's not the time, I'm busy. And
Phil Hartman! Phil Hartman!
Yes, as the guard on
bitch's cavities.
Yeah, there's a lot. So that's kind of the other thing. So like one of my other complaints about this movie is, it is filled with like really good character work and actors and stuff like that. But like So the movie is called So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Right.
So we already know the plot of it.
Right.
So at what point do we get to the point where he is dating someone that he suspects might be a murderer? 45 minutes into the movie. It takes 45 minutes to get to where we already know from the title what's going to happen. I'm like, what is we're meeting like his family and we're meeting his friends, and then he's doing poetry. I'm like, this movie is going nowhere. What is happening? Can we get to the part where he marries an axe murderer, because that's the promise of the movie. Okay, so the other thing about this movie, I feel like, is, and I don't know if it's because I've been watching too much Seinfeld lately, but to me it feels like less like a movie and more like an episode of Seinfeld. Because it could have been a lot shorter, and it's something Jerry would do, where he'd start dating this woman, and then he might be like, I think she might be an axe murderer, and get all paranoid, and then there would be some of the hijinks
for the next 15 minutes,
and then it could be. This story could be told within 22 minutes. That's what I'm trying to say. I really stretched it out.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
I know. I hate the shit on a movie that you love.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But like, what's interesting to me is like the writer of this movie is not like Mike Myers. So whoever bought this, I just feel like this was one of those movies that could have got lost in the shuffle. That they were like, let's get the SNL guy. Oh, he's famous. Let's put it out now. I've never looked that deep into it. I think the same. Yes, you're absolutely right. If you're not on board with the long journey, the long game, because they only tease about the murderer throughout it. Like there's news reports, there's news, they inquire that the mom show. You don't necessarily even get into it till closer, and then you meet the sister, which bar none, that's the fucking killer. Like, even as a kid, I knew that's the bad guy. That it ain't her. It's this one that looks fucking drugged up. And horrible about life.
Right, yeah. Now, I do need to mention that this plot sounds awfully familiar with a movie we just did about a woman who marries people and then they end up dead and they can't figure out who the fuck she is.
Addams Family.
We just did this same year. We just did this. And so again, I'm thinking the same things. I'm like, how do you know this woman is marrying people, but you don't know her identity?
Right.
Like nobody knows, like there'd be these men, I guess, are all complete loners and don't have any family or loved ones to be like, oh yeah, we went to his wedding. We know what she looks like. We have pictures of her at, there's wedding photos. We know what she looks like. So you can, anyway. And if she changes her identity after each marriage, then how do they even know it's the same woman? You know what I mean? Like, so it's the same problems I had in Addams Family I have in this movie. It doesn't make sense.
100%. Like, how do you get away with the murders? Why wouldn't she be automatically numero uno suspect going into it? They wouldn't allow her out. She's been around 4 fucking exes that have been killed. And then you would suspect either her or her sister, because you're going to have to interview her.
Very quickly and easily.
But when I look at this, and this is why I wanted to say this. This is 1993. 2 movies come out that year. Wayne's World 2, So I Married an Axe Murderer. And mind you, both of them on IMDb only have... Axe Murderer has a 6.5. Wayne's World has a 6.2. So he came out with 2 middling movies in 1993. And I think Hollywood was like, kibosh Mike Myers, because he does not come out till Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, in 1997.
7. Okay.
7.
Yeah. It was a minute. I agree.
Like, bro, what are we doing? And he had to write that. He had to create that. Yeah. So you want to know why he stole Dana Carvey's shtick? Because he was a man on the last bit of his life to make it in this business.
He needed something. And boy, that brought him back. Because if he didn't do that, then that would have been the end of Mike Myers' career for sure.
4 years difference. 4 years later. Who doesn't do a movie in those 3 years?
And I wonder what other, like, if he had done any other projects or anything in that time. But I did also look at the box office, and then, like, Wayne's World 2 did, like, maybe it barely got its money back. And then this movie bombed at the box office.
Hard.
Yeah.
Bombed hard.
For
like,
sure.
especially with them being like, hey, I'm Wayne. Don't you love Wayne? No, Wayne,
And
we don't love you.
You know what must have hurt is that so like him coming out with like 2 movies where he can showcase his characters and his humor. The following year, Jim Carrey banged out those 3
in 1 year.
Yes, he did what Mike Myers probably wished he could have done, which is probably maybe even thought was happening. You know, I have these 2 movies that I just filmed. One's releasing in the summer. One's
Christmas.
Like, this is gonna be like I'm gonna be the next big. I'm gonna be Eddie Murphy. I'm gonna be the next.
Yeah, I'm Eddie Murphy now.
Right. Yeah. So I'm interested to see like how he felt at that, you know, after kind of these 2 movies came out and what he ended up doing with his time. And I would be interested to hear that because this was definitely not a great time. But boy, did he turn it around with Austin Powers and Shrek, bro. Shrek was also supposed to be Chris Farley.
Chris Farley again.
Yeah.
He's taking everybody's bits.
But Austin Powers was his baby.
Yeah, I am not going
solid.
to not let him have that. He made it. He made Wayne. Yeah. Like, it's not like he's not creative or good when he wants to be. Hell, like I said, in that 54 movie, he was way different than usual. He played like a fucking Nazi or something in another movie.
Yeah.
Like, that Quentin Tarantino movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm, so, like, he can perform and stuff. It's just... I don't look at him as the star I think Mike Myers thinks he is.
Right, yeah.
But this movie, now that we're done kind of talking the movie, the core memory for me, what this did was back then, I didn't know how you get fucking soundtracks outside of like my aunt paying for a CD to give to me. Like, I don't go out and buy my first CD until 95's Mortal Kombat. That's my first. Okay. So I don't know what I'm doing. But boy, oh boy, you get it. But boy, oh boy, if there's one thing I love about this movie, it's the fucking soundtrack. And
the music was good.
I had a tape recorder, and what I did is when the movie came on, I would record the song from like just holding by to the TV, and that's what I listened to. I had a tape that was labeled "So I Married an Axe Murderer," and it's not the fucking songs on radio, and it is literally me holding up to the TV to hear SATURDAY night SAT. That's what I did.
Yeah, kids today will never know.
Never understand that.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, man, that is a deep pull, and that definitely cements it as a core memory. If that's what you're doing with this movie, for sure. The music was good.
Is the end credit song or the opening credit? There she goes again. Whenever that played, that's my biggest memory of it. I was like, I fucking love this song, and I want it, and I'm going to stand at the TV for the next minute and a half, not the whole song, because we're not going to play the whole goddamn thing, but I am going to record this song.
Yeah, I get
that
it.
was me.
I totally get it.
That was my life. Hello!
Hello! I know there's a lot of improv in this movie, of course, because he's going to do that sort of thing. And but one of the things, one of the bits, which was funny, but like again takes me out of the movie because it's ridiculous. So his wife or girlfriend at the time has her friend Ralph over. And he goes to meet her. He's fresh out of the shower, comes down in a towel. You get dressed before you meet somebody. You don't meet somebody with no shirt on and just a towel. And then he hugs her because he's relieved that Ralph is a girl and not the ex that she killed. His towel drops. And so he's naked, okay? That's already we got 2 absurd things happening. Like, I'm taking out of the movie twice. The third thing that happens is Ralph then moves her hand down over his ass.
My towel's down, isn't it? Well, yes, it is.
I'm like, what is this choice? Boy,
now that you
had a choice.
Now I have
had a choice.
I like that we're doing a debate now. Okay, I see you, and now I raise you a good bit where the marriage is happening and fucking dad singing "If You Love My Body" and you think I'm saying, but then leads to the piper. He's like, hot. And then the piper fucking uses all his wind and falls. And he goes, we have a piper down. Repeat, a piper down. Fucking lose it every time I see that. Yeah. And then also, Billy, your head's a melon. Move, eat.
Yes, it's giant. The kid's head. Yeah, it was very fat bastardy and like Mike Myers-y for sure. And that was another character that like, I already know the better version of this character. So because that's eventually what it evolved into. And so it's so funny. Yeah, that and it sounds like Shrek and all that stuff, and so I'm like, I've heard this, so it's hard to watch it and appreciate that character.
To kind of now pick up where you left off with the butt grabbing scenario. Yeah. How about when mom just lays on a kiss to the best friend, does not let him go, and he just fucking going to town.
So ridiculous. It's so goddamn ridiculous. And there were times like him is just like a character. He does. The other thing about Mike Myers is, and I know this whole thing is like supposed to be grounded and stuff like that, but he still comes off as a cartoon. His character is still very cartoony, to the point where like when they're laying in bed or just spending time together, like I'm like, I don't really get it. But then when I pretend like he's Wayne, and I'm like, okay, this is funny. Because Wayne is kind of like a cartoon character. I'm like, if you're trying to make me believe he's just like an everyman, then I'm like, this is kind of weird, kind of not working for me. But it doesn't surprise me that all of the other characters that he did moving forward were very characters, right. He became a character actor rather than just like an everyman. Like Jim Carrey was able to drop the humor, drop shticks, and just play the everyman.
Now you have me wondering if solely him getting this job was like, oh, he's so funny, he's so creative. Let's get a scene where we can montage him being in the butcher shop and what kind of bits he comes up with.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's what it
You guide me. You guide me. Like all the bits he did were Wayne, not that guy.
Yes, exactly.
Now that you say
what
that,
it seemed like. Yes, it seemed very that, which is not surprising because he's good at that character. But yeah, I agree, and I do remember watching that montage and being like, oh, I wonder if these are like bits that he just kind of made up on the day, on the spot. Because I'm like, I don't know, these don't really look like they're written. There just seems like, okay, they got a bunch of props, and Mike Myers is just doing a bunch of bits with it.
When you look at it, you get when he's like doing the sausage, he's like, oh doing that. Yeah, when she just copies him, she doesn't have a good one. She's just doing what he's doing.
Yes, right. Yes, exactly. And I think like that. Well, I was like, oh, just do what he did. And that's kind of funny. Yeah, and it does seem very Wayne when he does those like bits or whatever.
All right. So there it is, folks. Don't watch these fucking movies. Don't watch a Mike Myers movie until fucking Austin Powers won.
Yeah.
That's our final verdict.
I love Austin Powers. I think all three of those fucking movies, spoiler alert before we get to it, all three of those movies are fucking bangers, man.
Banger after banger. Yeah, no, they're fun. I enjoy them. But what say you? If you've seen it, leave a comment. Let us know how you feel about So I Married an Axe Murderer, Wayne's World 2, Wayne's World Original, whatever. Leave a comment. Who cares? Subscribe to this channel. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on iTunes, Apple, whatever the kids call it these days. Follow us on fucking Skybound or Sky Blue. Yeah. Who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit?
We're getting closer to the real
We're
SNL
getting closer.
Hero.
We're getting closer.
We're getting closer to the real SNL hero.
I know it. It's true.
All right. Well, I love you, buddy.
All right. Love you, buddy.